Welcome to the Wise Wolf Project. I am your host, Wise Wolf. It is February 1st, 2011, roughly about 2 minutes to 11. And the word for the day is inflation. Inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is simply the expansion of the money supply. And what ends up happening is, as more money enters the system without any products or services to accommodate that extra credit or those extra dollars, it creates a phenomenon where prices rise. And we're seeing that all over right now. The riots in Egypt and Tunisia and Algeria and Yemen, Jordan, are directly a response to inflation. You see, we have a situation where when the Federal Reserve prints money or gives credit to the Treasury then gives it to the banks. The banks, in turn, give it to hedge funds. Now, these entities put this money back, since they know the dollar is being debased. They put hedges to protect themselves, and so commodities end up being the logical place, because those are things that people need. But because commodities are mainly priced in dollars, because so much money is flooding into commodities, it affects the worldwide price of the commodity. Corn prices going up in the U.S. Means that corn prices are also going up in Asia, going up in Africa, going up in Japan, going up in Australia. It affects everyone. The problem you're having with these other countries is they spend roughly 40 to 50% already on their food costs. They are very poor. A lot of them live below the poverty line, more than 50% in some cases. So you have a lot of people who are frustrated with their ability not to be able to keep food on their table, not to be able to afford to keep food on the table. We're going to get to that point one day. Currently, America spends roughly 10% of its money on food. And so that you're not going to see very many Americans protesting and rioting over that fact. But as prices begin to rise here, which they are, even though the Fed says it doesn't see any inflation, it's utterly ridiculous. They use the CPI, which has many flaws. One of which is they overweight certain things. They substitute certain things. So when things that they feel are more expensive, they switch those out to items that are less expensive. So it's designed to keep, or manipulated to keep, inflation looking like it's very low. But that's far from the fact. And so the Fed generally just uses core inflation, which just means that they use inflation excluding food and energy. Well, I don't know anybody who lives without food or who lives without energy. And so it's just a farce, as far as I'm concerned, to show that there's no inflation. But there is inflation. And one of the mechanisms that they use to keep inflation out, and why they're using this claim, is that the money's not going out into the system. Well, that's not really true. When you look at the amount of people on food stamps, it's risen dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years. We're right now at record levels. 43 million was the last count, and rising. Well, those people wouldn't need a food stamp if they could pay for it themselves. So where are they getting the money Well, the food stamp program is provided by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That's a federal department. So the federal department has to get its money from the federal treasury, which is the U.S. Treasury. But we also know that the treasury does not have any money. Therefore, the treasury has to borrow the money from the Fed. So if more people are getting on this program, the Treasury has to borrow more money. That's more money printing. And that money is going into food, which is why we're seeing food prices here going up. McDonald's is already talking about lifting its prices to accommodate the food input cost that it's already taking. It's already raised prices in places like Europe. So it's coming slowly, but it's coming. You also have to, when you look at the unemployment situation, the first, I believe, 26 weeks are paid for through the premiums that the companies that give you the insurance that they pay for. But after that, you used to be pretty much on your own, but the federal government has taken up that slack. So you have, at last I checked, they may have extended it, but it used to be up to 99 weeks. So the difference between 99 and 26 weeks is the portion that our federal government now covers. But again, where do they get the money? They have to get it from the Treasury. And the Treasury doesn't have the money, so it has to come from the Federal Reserve as well. And what are those people spending their unemployment check? Food has got to be one of them. Probably a place to stay, their rent, something like that, or their mortgage. So it's coming into the system, but just at a much slower rate. It would be much faster if the banks were really allowed to make loans. That's generally how they grow the economy, is getting people to get into debt. But since people are so indebted and people are losing jobs and companies aren't hiring, it's better for the banks to keep the money themselves, lend it back to the Federal Reserve they get interest off of that, which is ridiculous, and also lend money to hedge funds for a small fee, so the hedge funds can do what they do. And again, they're putting their money into places like gold, places like corn, places like wheat. And so you have all of these commodities going up. We are causing this whole thing, this whole domino effect has to do with our Federal Reserve and its not erroneous, but it's very bad monetary policy. It thinks it's covering us, the U.S., from bankruptcy, but you should know that if they should stop doing this, they have pomo operations going to the tune of about $40 billion a week, just to keep the stock market propped up. And they have to keep doing this, because if they don't, we slide into a depression automatically. No buts about it. That's what's going to happen. I tell my wife and people I know, I believe we're already in a depression. We just haven't realized it. When you see, 43 million people on food stamps, well, you would see those people in soup lines if had it not been for the program. There was a story a few months ago where people on the first of the month, Walmart sees these people. They come in with their food stamp check and they buy up whole food. Just go in there on the first of the month or whenever they get their fill for their cards, and they're in Walmart. So it's happening, but at a slower rate, and most people aren't able to see it, so they believe it's not happening. But it is happening. This is for real. This is serious, and this is why people are rioting all over the world. We cannot get out of this without taking the necessary precautions of doing away and erasing this debt. We cannot continue to put money on the backs of the taxpayer to pay for banker bonuses, holidays, cruises, and things of that nature. We can't continue to do it. We are in for a world of hurt, and I kid you not. I had a video a while back saying prepare. I am still adamant, if not more adamant about that. You need to get prepared. Whatever that means for you, if you need water, if you need food, if you need soup, if you need clothing, first aid, types of medications and devices, you need to do it. Because once the ship blows, it's going to be very bad. And the only thing I can say at that point is, Lord, have mercy on us. Because we're going to get a serious awakening when that time frame comes. And those that are in the know are preparing themselves. Look at what happened to the president of Tunisia. When he left, what did he leave with? Gold. A whole lot of it. 1.5 tons of it. Well, why would he do that? Because it is money anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, gold is money. The dollar will no longer be the reserve currency. I hope you're seeing that. This ship is going to hit Saudi Arabia at some point. It is. Believe me. And the report I got was that the Saudis were bribing their people with like $3,500 and some other thing to keep them from rioting. But that won't last long, not at the rate that we're printing money. So once that happens, you have a serious issue with the petrodollar status. And as I've stated before, once that goes, the reserve currency is no more, and this inflation that we've been exporting to everyone else comes back to our doorstep. It comes back to and then it won't be you looking on TV seeing Egyptians rising. It won't be the Tunisians you see on CNN. It won't be the Algerians you see on CNN. It won't be the Yemenis you see on TV. It won't be the North Africans. It won't be the Asians. It'll be Americans. And when that day comes, it's going to be horrible. You know, I shudder to think what it's going to look like, but all I can say is you need to be prepared. One other thing, commodities are going up in price, but just wait till rice starts hitting, and the situation is going to be nuclear. Rice for the past year and a half or so has been going down in price. Asians and a lot of those Asian countries use rice as it's a staple. It's what they do. But once rice starts breaking out, it's going to go nuclear. Let me reiterate that. When rice goes, it's going to set off more riots, more panic, more chaos, more pandemonium. When that starts hitting, and over the past few months, it started to tick up. It's been lagging behind all of the other things that you hear about. But once that starts going, you have these governments going to have major problems. And again, this all stems from us, our Federal Reserve, our complicit Congress with allowing Ben Bernanke to do the things he did just to, quote unquote, save our economy. But it's been at the expense of other nations, other countries, starving literally other peoples in their own country. So once we get this, once rice starts hitting the fan, it's going to be bad. And it reminds me so much, this whole time period reminds me so much of 2008 when riots were going off all over the world. They already started in Bangladesh, which is an Asian nation. Southeast Asia, I believe, is where it is. They've already started rioting there and protesting. It's going to affect many more people around the world. And I just, all I can say is, may God help us. God have mercy on our souls, because we're going to need as much prayer, much of a lot of things, because people have their eyes closed. They do not see this wall of this wall of destruction that is coming our way. And all I can say is, you do not start preparing for the storm when the tornado's outside of your window. No, you start preparing beforehand. Before things get bad. When it's sunny outside, when things seem to be okay, that's when you prepare yourselves, not when things are going well. And I hope you don't believe that the government is going to be there to help you. This is going to be a nationwide, worldwide event. And the government could not even help the people of New Orleans. Look at what happened in New York, a place that gets snow every year, and they were crippled by it a few weeks ago. Couldn't get out of it. And you better prepare yourself for what's coming down the pipeline. Listen, I could go on and on and on, but I just want to leave you with this. This stems from our reckless monetary policy of the Federal Reserve, and the fact that our Congress, our president, are so, I guess, gung-ho about Ben Bernanke saving our economy, not realizing that it's costing lives and governments all over this world. We need to get it together. Lastly, remember, the invisible is more powerful than the visible. Think about it.